Jack Lemmon doesn't hold a candle to Tim Curry. What's up, YouTube? It's the NFL Week 17 picks against the spread video for the 2019 NFL season. Congratulations to OK at business, going 11-4-1, good for 73%, and winning the OU for Monday Night Football to put him at the number one spot, winning the t-shirt for the Week 16 picks against the spread. Fat Guy, we also had BDD, Square So Hard It's Sharp, Nasty Nuster, as well as Absolutely, all coming in at 11-4-1. Your thoughts?
Followed by 16. Vegas Jake 999, Satuple. Fat Guy's beard looks like well, it's cut off, but we'll get to it, I have a feeling. And China is your daddy.
Let's go on to the overall leaderboard, where picked last, Jake Jacobs stays number one, 240 games played, 135 wins, 102 losses, 3 draws, good for 57% on the year. Fat Guy, your thoughts?
It's just an unbelievable year. You can't beat that. I implore you. Dylan Toddfield claimed he was going to be number one next year. Cue the music. And he also claimed 69% because he likes the number. Well, that's also impossible. It is possible for him or you to win this contest next year. But you're going to have to deal with the ferocious Jake Jacobs, followed by Richard, E. Steelers, Big Ryan the Fat Guy ourselves, Mickey Hill, Satuple, Detroit Time, Dylan, Toddfield, cue the music again. I'm just getting annoying now. I got to be real. Bo, Captain Save-A-Ho, and Gay for Fat Guy. And just about everyone on this list would be making money. Of course, the break-even percentage at 1/11th commission is 52.38, and most of the people on this list seem to be above that. So if you bet all at the standardized unit sizing, you would be in the black.
And this goes for our career record, 325, 285, and 18. Good for just a slice under 54%, as well as for 2019.
Picking every game on Monday night's lines. Tough to do, guys. Tough to do.
Time for JS715, name of the week, honorable mentions. I'll let you list these all off.
We're big fans of Norm Macdonald's being Canadian. Kitchener Leslie's girlfriend, fantastic. Big Rye, the people's champ. Not that many shoutouts for Big Rye, considering he's not quite the YouTube star that I am. Michael Thomas's silky smooth skin, absolutely. Another Tim and Eric fan, I'm going to say. 5-star YouTuber, good callback. Vancouver's finest, a shout out to our hometown. A nice greeting for once. Happy holidays, Big Ryan the Fat Guy. Dax Shoulder Boulder Holder. I like rhymes as much as the next guy. And the winner is, I said I'd mention it before, Fat Guy's beard looks like my hairy ass. And I gotta be honest, I don't got a good beard. It's patchy, it's weird. Much like this user's, I believe, ass. I haven't seen it yet. I'm hoping to in the future.
Remember, you can compete every week for Week 17. BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. Link is in the description. Let's see if you guys can beat us for Week 17. And that gets us on to the bet of the century, Part 2. Fat Guy, you take this one.
I will. It happened on our live stream. We do it pretty much every Monday night. Every time there's Monday Night Football, and most often on Sundays and even some Thursdays. So we will be in the following year. Don't you worry. Stay tuned. But that being said, this came about. Now, the true line was New Orleans, minus 13, but the savvy Mickey Hill was able to hustle an extra half point out of Dylan. I'm really hoping it finishes New Orleans by 13, just to be funny. So, much like Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky in 1972, this is a grudge match for the ages. So, if the Saints are able to cover the 13 half-point spread, Mickey is going to have to personally send 2 chicken pineapple pizzas. I don't know that pineapple goes on pizza, but that's Dylan's choice. 8 barbecue chicken wings, a 2-liter Mountain Dew, butter and seasoning on the crust. Now, if Dylan loses, he has to shave his armpit hair, put it in a glass of milk, and drink it. Now, I would think that'd be worth more than some wings, soda, and 2 pizzas, but I'm out of touch and out of time, as they say. So that is the bet. It's a bet of the century. And we'll let you know the results. Don't you worry.
Now on to the Week 17 picks against the spread. We'll start with the Sunday early games. Start off with the Bears traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Vikings are 7-point favorites. The betting percentages were still too early. We're going to put this at 50-50 for now, but we have no clue what the betting percentages will be for this game as of now. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, we have very little to go on, and And that being said, the market factors aren't available, so it's a difficult thing. So we're going to have to go a little more of a gut pick. So this is just a contest pick, to be honest. I'll be taking the Bears, taking 7 points, because when in doubt, take the points. And this game is no different. The Vikings weren't able to get it done on Monday night, and the Bears a little bit listless on the weekend. Can we say that?
Yep, poor performance from the Bears.
Poor performance. I still think in this spot, like if I have to have a gun to my head, and I pretty much do, picking every game against the YouTubers out there, and I'm going to take the Bears and take the points. It's as simple as that. I can't get much more in depth considering the lack of market factors.
Next up, the Atlanta Falcons travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. So far, it is a pick'em. Tampa Bay has 38% of the bets. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, there was a reverse line movement. But there's also a standardized line movement because the Bucs were favored. Now it's down to a pick. The money is heavily on the Atlanta Falcons, but there's a contrarian indicator that that this is a Bucs play, and the reverse line movement makes it a Bucs play. So I think those two factors supersede. And not to mention, there's only 38% of the public on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Atlanta's kind of hot right now, anyways. I think hot Atlanta. There we go. I was able to shoehorn it in there just like I like. And the Bucs had a close, but they didn't get the results. So all those box score hawks are going to miss how close that game actually was against Houston. I actually enjoyed that, I would say, of all the Saturday games. That one worked for me. I guess the Rams game was good with the Niners. Regardless, this is going to be a Bucs contest pick. I'm not loving it as a bet just quite yet, especially because the juice on this. Now, it looks like it's even money because in the contest there's no commission charge, of course, because it's not a sports book. But the line is the Bucs minus 123. So although the line did shift from -2 to 0, the juice is at minus 123, which almost makes me think that it's a lateral movement. Minus 123 as opposed to -2, minus 105. Then we're talking about the commission attached to the price in picking the Bucs against the spread. So that means it's I don't know. It doesn't really seem like a shift at all, despite the money being on Atlanta. So maybe the books are holding steady. So it's a contest pick for now, but I'll be looking to put my money on the Buccaneers. But I want to see some more market developments going forward.
Next up, to continue with the Sunday early games, the Miami Dolphins travel to New England to take on the Patriots. Patriots are 15.5-point favorites. 26% of early bettors are on the Pats. Fat guy, who you got?
Yeah, this is a bizarre one too. Very few people on the Patriots at the moment. Most of the money is on Miami. There's an indicator that contrarians are taking the New England Patriots. But in these spots, I'm going to override that type of market factor. Can you guys really lay 15.5 points against the Dolphins? I know it's funny to say that now, considering the start of the season, but this is a team that's competing every week. Am I right? And I'm not going to go results based on their on recent success, let's say, but I think they have been a phoenix that rises above the ashes, above the Serengeti. I mean, let's go. I think Dolphins 15.5 points is just too many. The line, I think 14 that it opened with, I actually think is probably close to equilibrium. I'm going to say 13.5 with positive juice on the Patriots, just from a gut perspective. But that 15.5 points that rises above the 14 does make it a little bit more enticing to take the Dolphins. Oddly enough, I imagine most people in the contest, and don't forget, the contest link will be in the details. You get to win yourself a t-shirt, just like OK at Business, who somehow changed his name from good at business, bad at business to okay at business. And maybe he's good at business again, considering he won our contest this week. That being said, I think most people in this contest will take the Dolphins. I think it's going to eventually settle around 50-50. I wouldn't be surprised if this line goes back to Dolphins plus 16, which I believe it was at some juncture. So give me the Dolphins, give me the points, and it's going to be an interesting one.
Next up, the Green Bay Packers travel to Detroit to take on the Lions. Lions are 10-point underdogs at home. 78% of early bettors are on the Lions. Fat guy, who you got?
It's a weird week. It's a weird week. Week 17 historically isn't that great for market plays, at least for me. But don't forget, that's how many week sample of me tracking this? 7-8 years? That doesn't. I can't give it the full weight that I would, as much as I would singular games and singular situations. So I'm going to group the double-digit dogs at home, even though it's week 17, into the same basket. And that is a proven winner over the long run. So obviously you guys know where I'm going the Detroit Lions, despite most people betting on the Lions. 10 points at home is too much. Packers just locked up the division just now with their Monday night win against the Minnesota Vikings in a interesting, good defensive performance, let's say, right? I mean, there is reports that they're going to keep Patricia and Bob Quinn. I'm surprised at the Patricia keeping. I think the Lions are just abhorrently coached, and they have a little bit more talent than their record and their efforts have actually produced, let's say. 10 points at home. I understand who's playing at quarterback. It's more than likely David Blow, considering Stafford went on IR, I believe. So all of that being said, I don't really care who's at quarterback. It could be the ball boy. I like 10 points at home, and I like Kerryon Johnson to perhaps ride the Lions to a cover, not necessarily a win.
I'm just going to check to see if this game's still up because the Packers have clinched the division, so I'm curious to see if this line is still available for now at 10 points. I have a feeling it's not going to be staying at 10 points. Yeah, I don't see it up. So they've taken it down. This line probably won't stay at 10. It's, I don't know, Green Bay -3. It might be a pick'em. Like, who knows who's going to play in this game?
But it's a great question. But this is the advantage, the one advantage of being able to have the line set on Monday night. So we're going to roll with it. Detroit +10. This is probably the easiest bet on this docket.
Next up, Cleveland Browns travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point underdogs at home. Only 19% of early bettors are on the Bengals. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, I'm going to ride with Cincinnati, clearly. They had one of the craziest almost comebacks maybe ever in NFL history. Is that?
Oh, yeah.
What, 2 touchdowns in how long, Big Rye?
In 29 seconds. Fat guy also. That was the 5-star game of the week for me.
It was. Now, you want to talk about predicting entertainment? Big Rye is able to do that on a gamely basis. He just seems to just nail it and get it right. And I'm hoping this will be the same. Now, a lot of books have it at -2.5, but the juice is at -120. So you're paying a 1/5 commission, which is substantial. So that can almost be extrapolated to -3. I know those are big words and big numbers, but we're going to have to get on board here. We're going to have to up our games a little bit. The show is turning up a notch, especially when you have such a rising star in the YouTube community. You're going to have to take these leaps and bounds. So that being said, laying 3 points with Cleveland on the road, it doesn't seem palatable to me at any juncture. A little disappointed they weren't able to cover a 10-point spread against the Baltimore Ravens. Cleveland Browns, just standard Browns. Bengals only have 1 win on the season, and I don't think it's unreasonable for them to garner another. Between the infighting on the Browns and, let's say, the tanking cohesiveness of the Cincinnati Bengals, I'll be taking the Bengals. I'll be taking the 3 points. Very few people are betting on the Bengals. Very few monies on the Bengals at the moment, but I do think that'll change. I think this line will shift from -2.5, -120, or you could say -3 to maybe even Browns -3.5. That's a possibility. And I think it will equal around -3.5, 50-50 on each side. That's just going to be my guess, let's say. And I think I'm going to be taking the Bengals, and I will be taking my 3 points.
I'm going to give you a little bit of an anchoring, a word that we like to use
Yes.
on this. How would you explain anchoring?
Anchoring is when you come up with a reason for someone to win or lose, and you just kind of, no matter what any other logic or facts or anything else that's brought into play, you use that as an overriding mechanism to justify your selection.
That's a very good explanation of anchoring. But I'm going to say this. The Bengals have the number 1 pick locked up. They can win again.
So there you go. So at least Big Rye is he's coming up with an anchoring reason, but an interesting one at that. This is a good one, and I haven't heard him say this, so he's making me all a Twitter, let's say. So I don't think that's a bad reasoning either. It's hey, the plan worked, boys. We did it. Freedom 55. Here we go. Let's go, Joe Burrow. There's even another reason to take the Bengals that I didn't consider. I like the Bengals, and I'll take the points.
Next up, the LA Chargers travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs 8-point favorites at home. 94% of early bettors have watched the Chargers play before, and they're on the Chiefs. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, the Chargers are probably the most confusing team. Probably because they've had inconsistent play at quarterback. The market is favoring the Chiefs right now. This early market, though, again, has way less weight than most markets. There's only 277 bets on this game at this current time with these current numbers. So you can't really take the volume of bets too seriously. What I can offer is a prediction on which way the market will sway, because we bet numbers, guys. We don't bet teams. I know that's annoying to some, but that's how you profit at sports betting. So I'm going to be taking the Chargers. I'll be taking the 8 points. But as a betting man, I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to hope that 8 points kind of shifts up a little bit. I can afford 8 to go to 7.5. The win probability doesn't shift too much. 8 to 7 does hurt. But could I get 9? Could I get 9.5? Can I be greedy? I think 9.5 is completely reasonable for this line to fall at equilibrium. So I'm going to be taking the Chargers and the points in the contest. As far as a betting man, I'm going to try and hope that it does shift, considering the early interest on the Kansas City Chiefs. So contest-wise, give me the Chargers and the points. But betting-wise, I'm going to be waiting and seeing.
Next up, the New York Jets travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Bills are 1-point favorites at home. 66% of early bettors are on the Bills. Fat guy, who you got?
Ooh, this is a big shift, too. Jets were 4.5-point underdogs. They're now only 1-point underdog. This is the bet of the week. We're going to be taking the New York Jets and the 1 point. We just bet them to win, realistically. I don't care if I get a push here. You know, if I can get like Jets money line at even, that would be nice. Buffalo has nothing to play for, correct?
Yep.
This is the Jets Super Bowl, as they say. We're kind of using a big rye anchoring point. Again, we're going to call back that about as much as possible to try and get in everyone's heads, and hopefully for it to stay into mine, well into my dreams. But that being said, I'll be taking the Jets. I'll be taking the 1 point in the contest, and I'll be looking to betting on the Jets right now, probably as soon as this show enters. You know me, I hate getting a worse line, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. The Jets and the 1 point is formidable. It's the Jets Super Bowl. Let's see if they're able to do it, and I think they are. This Jets team is creeping on 7 wins?
They're creeping on 7 wins. I've been following them very, very closely
yes,
this
he
year.
has.
I've had 3 units on the Jets, over 7 wins for the season. So it's been an exciting finish to the season. I'm happy about this line. I'm happy about this market play. A couple weeks ago, it didn't look like the Jets had a chance to even push this. Now we have the chance for a push. So
upset versus Pittsburgh, not so bad.
Not so bad.
And a Miami under, big ride, doing okay. 1-0-1 perhaps.
Next up, the New Orleans Saints travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers. The Panthers are 13.5-point underdogs. Only 23% of early bettors and Mickey Hill are on the Carolina Panthers. Fat guy, who you got?
Okay, now they're actually 13-point underdogs, but for the contest's sake, we had to incorporate the Bet of the Century Part 2 into our own contest. So a 13.5-point is a bet on 13.5-point pick of the New Orleans Saints is a bet on Dylan Toddfield. Cue the music. And a 13.5-point underdog selection on the Carolina Panthers is a backing of the wondrous Mickey Hill. So you know where I'm going with this. I get a double-digit dog at home in the division with very little public backing. This is a good bet to me. This is just a very strong bet. I like the Carolina Panthers. I like them to cover. I find them less stable right now than the Jets, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Jets have their ducks in more in a row. A nice little win, by the way, for Le'Veon Bell. I forgot to mention in the previous incantation of the game. I also like I think this is a good way to finish the season. Can we do New Orleans Saints by 10? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not. So give me this kind of checks most of the boxes for a contrarian. Again, it's week 17. It's misleading. And these numbers have much less interest than past weeks considering the week. It's a weird one. Week 17 is a weird one, and it's difficult. But I can't justify ever laying 13.5 points on the road in a divisional matchup such as this one. Give me the lowly Carolina Panthers and give me the 13.5 points.
Next up, we're going to move to the midday games, and we'll start with the Tennessee Titans traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. The Texans are 4.5-point favorites at home. 57% of early bettors are on the Texans. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, we're going to be anchoring again on motivations here. Now, Tennessee rested Derrick Henry, possibly costing me a fantasy championship and maybe winning me another one. And that was in anticipation of this game, more or less. That was the plan, is to have the rowdy Derrick Henry in full effect against the Houston Texans so they can make the playoffs. I think it's a win and they're in, correct? They control their own destiny?
Yes.
Oh, what a bundle of joy Big Rye is. The Titans are still in flux for that last playoff seed between the Steelers and the Raiders somehow. So the Raiders with a win and the Steelers and the Titans with a loss, and the Raiders are in. If the Titans win, they're in. And now if the Titans lose and the Steelers win, the Steelers are in. So let's go. I'm sorry you had to go through that rigmarole, but that's just kind of how she goes. So that being said, the Titans have pretty much set themselves up to try and win this game, and the motivations have definitely changed. Also, the line has a severe movement because of this. The Texans were 1-point underdogs, and they've been to 4.5-point favorites. I don't love that. The Texans don't have to win this game because they've already locked up the division, so there's probably going to see backup. So Tennessee at full flux on the road. I mean, I don't like that I lost 5.5 points from +1 to -4.5, but I actually kind of like them in this spot. I think there's going to be a lot of Derrick Henry. This defense is going to show up. I think this is I'm hoping for a good Tennessee outing. I mean, usually I take the underdog in this situation, but Week 17 is a weird one, and we're going to lay the 4.5 points. We're going to ride Tannehill and Henry to the playoffs. Let me take the Titans. Let me lay the 4.5 points.
Next up, the Indianapolis Colts travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. 3.5-point underdogs at home. 24% of early bettors are on the Jags. Fat guy, who you got?
Oh, this is a pretty easy Jacksonville bet. The Andrew Jacksonville Jags, they're getting 3.5 points at home with a little bit of the money. There hasn't been a reverse line movement, but there's 21% volume backing, 49% currently of the money. That's just like 21% currently is putting up 49% of the money. I know we have 24 listed there, but it has since shifted. The one thing I will say is the volume isn't that large, so we can't draw too many because there's only 466 bets at this moment in time. So the market is a little bit more elastic when you put in numbers, so it could settle down. But if I were buying the Jags, which I will be at the conclusion of this show, 3.5 is the exact number that I want. 3.5 points at home, that's fantastic. It's 3.5 is, I always say it's the best number. It really is. And I don't want to gamble for this number to go to 3. Or 3.5 even with worse juice. This is standard -110. Give me the Jags. Give me the 3.5 points. 4 points isn't going to do it for me. 4.5, I doubt will happen. I think this will settle right here where it is, and it'll hit equilibrium. Give me the 3.5 points. Give me the Jacksonville Jags, and maybe we can get a final, a good game, a good performance from the Jags, if possible, because they've been costing us money pretty much all year, I would say. So Jags and the points. They also fired Tom Coughlin for those of you that actually care. Don't think that you do. Jags and the points is the contest pick and will be the bet at the conclusion of this show.
Next up, the Washington Redskins travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 10.5-point favorites at home. Only 30% of bettors are on the Cowboys. Fat guy, who you got?
This is a weird one because the Cowboys you really need to win. I mean, they're not going to get in without a Philadelphia loss, but they need to win. And the Redskins are the Redskins, but why would the Redskins want to just give it to them? 10.5 seems like too big a number. It really does. Is Dallas 10.5 points better than anybody? I don't know. I can't justify laying 10.5 points in this spot, despite contrarian theory rearing its head in 30% of volume on the Dallas Cowboys. So I'll be taking the Redskins in a classic Cowboys and Indians battle, and I'll be taking the 10.5 points.
Next up, speaking of the Devils, the Philadelphia Eagles travel to New York to take on the Giants. Giants are 4.5-point underdogs at home. 31% of early bettors are on the Giants. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, first of all, I'm wearing my Philadelphia Eagles toque. I know you guys call it a beanie, but we're Canadian, so this is a toque. And the reason I'm wearing this toque is because I'm a double secret contrarian. Wearing this toque means I'm taking the New York Giants. Give me the Giants. Give me the points at home. And what I'm hoping is a little bit of a barn burner. I mean, it's the last game of the season. I understand the motivations, but the Giants want to finish on a high too. Like Shermer wants to at least maybe win a game before he's fired. I don't know. I don't see the Giants laying down in this one, despite the tackling of Janoris Jenkins this season. I know he's on the Saints now. You don't have to tell me that. But I'll take the New York Giants. I'm going to take the 4.5 points. And even though this is essentially a must-win for the Eagles, I don't see the Giants taking this one lying down. I feel like Week 17, it's a weird one. I've had mixed results. Very good. Maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, those years, done fantastical in week 17. These past few years, you can even see my last year's video from week 17. Not so good. This is an uneven one. It's a tough week for me, personally and professionally. I'll be taking the Giants. I'll be taking the 4.5 points. And let's just hope for a close game.
Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens are 2-point underdogs at home. 46% of early bettors are on the Ravens. Fat guy, who you got?
I wish we got it at +3 instead of -2 because we're taking the Pittsburgh Steelers. -2, not exactly my favorite line, but considering Baltimore has so little to play for, this is and the Steelers, well, this is one of those things where we're going to talk about anchoring. This mean nothing game for the Ravens. It's probably going to see a lot of Robert Griffin III, I would imagine. And for the Steelers, they have a chance to make the postseason if they're able to win, considering they did lose to the Jets last week. So, I mean, Steelers -2 on the road. I don't see why not against the backups in Baltimore. I think this is a pretty clear-cut choice. I mean, maybe the public is overestimating because the Ravens have such a good record, maybe. But this shouldn't be an even matchup, and I think 2 points is reasonable to lay. I'd rather get the +3 it opened at, but obviously, since the circumstances have changed so much, and the two teams aren't exactly playing on a level playing field despite being in Baltimore, laying 2 is more than reasonable. So it's pretty clear-cut. Give me the Steelers, I'll lay the 2 points.
Oakland travels to Denver. Denver 3.5-point favorites at home. 31% of early bettors are on the Broncos. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, I mean, despite Oakland could sneak in the playoffs with a victory here, and of course a loss by the Pittsburgh Steelers, in addition to the Tennessee Titans, and it's a must-win. I still like the Broncos here. This is a weird line. Why 3.5-point favorites? I mean, the Broncos don't want to take it lying down. I agree, but I mean, it's weird. I'm gonna take them, but this is a weird price. Purely a contest pick. I don't understand what's going on here in this marketplace. There's a lot of money been placed on Oakland as well, which is making me really suspect. I mean, it opened at -4.5, and then it's at 3.5 now. 2.5 I can understand. 3.5 is just kind of weird. So this is a pure contest pick, and just as someone who enjoys watching the betting markets, this is one to look out for. I want to see what happens, and then the result of this game. I mean, something weird could happen, like Denver could blow them out really bad for whatever reason. Sometimes you just don't know the reasons why or why not. And that being said, it's going to be purely a contest pick, and I'll be taking the Denver Broncos.
The final midday game, we have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to LA to take on the Rams. Rams are 7.5-point favorites at home, which was a very early line we found at one book with Kyler Murray still out, as well as betting percentages. There are none, so we're got it 50-50 listed on the screen. So, Fat Guy, this is strictly a handicapping pick. Who you got?
Strictly a handicapping. I'll tell you why I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals is because do I really care if Brett Hundley plays over Kyler Murray? It's not. It doesn't do that much for me, got to be honest.
Yep.
It's whatever, really. And Cardinals have been able to sneak in some games here. This is a mean-nothing game for both, despite for bragging rights, I guess, and Jalen Ramsey's pride, considering all the demons that he battles on a daily basis. So I'll be taking the Arizona Cardinals, and I'll be taking the 7.5 points. And I'm just not laying 7.5 in a divisional game, especially with one with so much uncertainty. There's just not much more to it than that. Cardinals and the points seems pretty reasonable on it as a road game, a road dog rather.
And a 5-star entertainment game for Sunday Night Football. The San Francisco 49ers travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Seahawks are 3-point underdogs at home. Only 23% of early bettors are on the Seahawks. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, a little bit interesting here. That Arizona loss is a little bit of a black eye for the Seahawks, eh? And I think maybe the 49ers have been winning in fantastical ways. I mean, who has the tiebreaker here? It's the winner of this game, realistically. So that means I get 3 points at home with the Seahawks. Overreaction to one game. That's what I'm looking at it as, and very few people betting on it. Give me the Seahawks and give me the 3 points, despite it being a revenge game for the 49ers, losing at home to the Seattle Seahawks. They would both finish with 12-4 records, and I believe the tiebreaker would go to Seattle. So let's go, Hawks. Let's take the points.
All right, Fat Guy, time for the lightning round. Let's start off with Chicago at Minnesota.
The Bears.
Atlanta at Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay Bucks.
Miami at New England.
Miami Dolphins.
Green Bay at Detroit.
David Blau's Lions.
Cleveland at Cincy.
Cincinnati Bengals.
Chargers Chiefs.
Chargers.
Jets Bills.
Jets.
New Orleans at Carolina.
Why did you just go to location now? I'll go with the Panthers.
Tennessee Houston.
Titans.
Indy at Jacksonville.
Jaguars.
Washington Dallas.
Redskins.
Philly New York Giants.
Not taking it lying down, Giants.
Steelers at Ravens.
Steelers.
Oakland at Denver.
Broncos.
And Arizona at the LA Rams.
Cardinals.
And finally, San Francisco at Seattle.
Seattle Seahawks.
Well, Dylan's daddies, that's it for us. NFL Week 17 picks are in the book. Fat Guy, your thoughts? I know you've already mentioned it a few times here. We've had our ups and downs Week 17. It's a very, very difficult time to be betting. What would you suggest people do Week 17 if they're making bets?
Well, personally, the one thing I want to say is I don't think these mics are any better. That's number one. Number two, this is a tough one. If you took the week off, I don't think that's that bad. I would just have a lot of trepidations. This is one of the weeks where I might even roll back the unit sizing just as a precautionary method. I get that it might not make sense, but I don't think that it's the style of betting you're going to have in this week isn't in line with what you've been doing the rest of the year, I don't imagine. Anchoring is about the best word. You're going to come up with reasons why any team could win or lose, cover or not cover any spread, so it's a little bit difficult to do. I think a unit rollback isn't a bad idea for Week 17.
All right, guys, that's it for us. I got nothing funny or clever to end off on.
He added a lot to the show.